What's going on, Colts Nation? Appreciate you joining me for another video. And before we get into the video, just know that in the description there is a link for Green Gridiron where you can get mini helmets or authentic NFL helmets. Okay, and make sure to use the discount code INDSYN at checkout and use that referral code down in the description so that they know I sent you. Okay, so again, go to the description. Holiday season coming up. Mini helmets, mini helmet accessories, helmet accessories, whatever the case may be. You want it for you, your man cave, a loved one, whatever the case is. Mini helmets and authentic NFL helmets can be found on Green Gridiron. The link in the description. Again, that is code INDSYN for the discount code. I appreciate you stopping by. And now let's get into the video. What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video where today we're going to talk a little bit about Chris Ballard and a little bit of an extension of the conversation that we had just a couple days ago on the video about Chris Ballard and how I tried to make the point of, hey, this is why we need to move on from Chris Ballard. I just think it's the right time with 41 free agents coming up. He drafts well, so we have talent on the team, but we can't put it together. Right, and it's the impossible position that he was put into that got him grace for so long. Like I'm somebody, and this has been my defense for Chris Ballard forever. Right, Andrew Luck retires in 2018, and after that point, all he wanted to do was continue to try to win. So he had a team that he thought, as Andrew Luck retired, I mean, that was the best team Andrew Luck ever had. When you look at his entire football career, that was the best team he ever had. That was, at that point, the best Colts team we had in the Andrew Luck era. So at the end of the day, like when you really look at it, Chris Ballard was just trying to find ways to continue to win with a roster that was ready to win, right? He tried to give Jacoby an opportunity, started that season as an MVP candidate, and then in the Pittsburgh game, Cam Hayward pushes Quentin Nelson back into Jacoby Brissett, messes his ankle up, wasn't the same the rest of the season. Jacoby Brissett, no longer MVP conversation. I think we won 6 games the Jacoby year, 6 or 7 games in the Jacoby year. And then obviously after that, we bring in Phillip Rivers. That was the last time we went to the playoffs, was there in the Phillip Rivers season in 2020. And unfortunately, that was a playoff game on the road. Didn't have a playoff game in front of the Indy fans. But we haven't won in the playoffs since the last year Andrew Luck played, 2018, where we started 1-5. And then Andrew Luck, because of how great he is, he shook the rust off. And I think we won 10 straight games to finish that year. Yeah, started 1-5, won 10 straight games. Finished 11-5, made it to the wild card as an 11-5 team. Went to Houston and beat Houston 21-0. And the last football game that Andrew Luck ever, or the last win that Andrew Luck ever had, obviously played the next week and we lost. But nonetheless, been a long time with Chris Ballard here that we just haven't been successful in a lot of different ways. We just haven't been successful. And there was some stuff that, I've made the point both ways. Not going to sit here and talk about all the same stuff, but I did want to take a chance to, and this one's about us. Right, me replying to some of you guys and seeing some of the comments, which is why this came up. And really, there was one comment that I had seen that gave me the idea to, hey, let me do a video. Let me try to reply to this because, I understand what's being said here. Just obviously, kind of, don't feel the same way. But this is one from @MonstersBox who commented very long. I read through most of it, not all of it, not gonna lie to you, didn't read through all of it. Very long comment here, but just to read the top of this, says, you're getting pretty pessimistic, dude. The Colts control their own future, of course. The Broncos aren't going 3-0 against the Chargers, Bengals, and Chiefs, but you just did a video where your feelings about tanking the rest of the season in order to move up in the draft. Now, first of all, okay, that's a big sentence. First of all, Broncos very easily could go and beat the Chargers, and the Bengals. Of course, the Chiefs is a different thing, right? Will they beat the Chiefs? Of course, that's going to be difficult. Will we beat the Broncos? I mean, I don't know if we're beating the Broncos. I'm just going to float that out there. I don't know if we're beating the Broncos, so I don't know if the rest of their schedule matters, but I do think they can go even if the Broncos win, right? Or even if we beat the Broncos. Let's say we beat the Broncos, right? I still believe they can go 2-1. Now, in the back end of our schedule, I just don't trust us in what I've seen from this team. I don't trust us to not mess it up. Traditionally, we mess it up. You think about in Ballard's years here, we find ways to mess it up. Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, it hasn't gone well. Obviously, last year, Gardner Minshew was supposed to be Anthony Richardson, turns into Gardner Minshew. It just hasn't worked. We always find ways to lose it when we need to win the game. So I just don't trust us. So I feel like the Broncos might not, they might not go 3-0 after our game, because they might lose to the Chiefs. A good chance they go 2-1. If they go 1-2, then hey, I was wrong. All right, but I do think that the Broncos much better than what it seems you're giving them credit to be. And I did a video where my feelings about for tanking the rest of the season. I don't know if I had a video talking about tanking for the rest of the season as I come up here. See here, I'm looking. Indianapolis Colts. So what the Richardson saves today? I wonder if you're talking about the reaction video to the game, right? Like, is that the one? Because I know. So here's my opinion. For any of you that don't know what might have been talked about, I know what you're talking about here. And my opinion on getting to the playoffs is that we're clearly not winning a Super Bowl. So there's part of me as a fan, there is a part of me that I believe, hey, why are we winning games? Right? And I think that's natural. I think a lot of fans come across that thought. But as a diehard fan, I'd also like us to win. I'd like us to end up 10-7 and in the playoffs. I want to see us get to the playoffs. Now, if we get to the playoffs, then this whole conversation doesn't matter and Ballard keeps his job anyways, right? And I'm not saying I'm against Ballard keeping his job, which I think is the part that I didn't do a good job of saying, because the whole video was, moving on from Chris Ballard. I think it is the right time. If you're going to move on from Chris Ballard, now is the time. With so much of the roster going to be flipped, seemingly a new defensive staff, hopefully a new defensive staff coming in, it would just seem, hey, this is the right time with so much roster flip over. If you're ever going to get a new GM in, he's not going to have to do a whole lot, and he already has some money to spend. He can find different ways, other things to do to create more money and bring different guys in that he wants here, whether it's low-level free agents just to set, the bottom of the roster, make the bottom of the roster strong. You're only as strong as your weakest link, and I think that's a good thing to do, is to strengthen the bottom of your roster. You get good depth. You get good special teams. You get solid locker room guys, solid core special team guys at the bottom that can still fill in and be good depth pieces, or if you really needed to. And then you go and you build the trenches and you build around your quarterback. It's obviously much more difficult than that. But in layman's terms, we just don't have a GM that'll go into free agency and bring all those guys in. He just draft guys and then brings all his own guys back. Like, he spends all this money in free agency, but like, go look at how much money he has spent in free agency on a player that wasn't drafted by the Colts. Right, and I'm not saying he hasn't does it. He does, right? We brought in Unique Ngakoue. We brought in Stephon Gilmore. Like, it's happened. And of course, I just named two players that came in a year that was terrible for the Colts in 2022. But nonetheless, it's the consistency of, like, he was so aggressive to get quarterbacks. He's not aggressive about the rest of the team. And I don't know what he's waiting for. Right? Like, and maybe this is going to be the year. Maybe this is what he wanted. Hey, we need an opportunity, which is what I've talked about in the past, right? Is maybe this is going to be a year where we still need to see, can Anthony consistently show that he has the stuff that's going to be great in the long run. And I think earlier in the season showed not, but which I think is why we probably weren't active at the deadline, the trade deadline. But also what we've seen from Anthony since he got benched, I think is something that could end up buying Ballard more time when you really look at it, being attached to this quarterback and hitting on that, right? Taking a chance and early on not working out, right? Ballard and Shane. If Anthony Richardson works out, Ballard and Shane are going to be mainstays here because we took a chance on a guy. Ballard and his staff took a chance on a guy that had a lot of question marks and took him at number 4. And then Shane and his staff able to mold him into, even though through some tough love, able to mold him into a great quarterback. So there's so many ways that this can go, and with Anthony getting better, maybe this is the time. Remember last offseason, and for those of you that weren't here, I know a lot of new subs throughout this season. So throughout the offseason, what we talked about here on the channel was that, once we really see like Ballard has been a certain way because of the situation, right? Because he's just trying to bring in quarterbacks. That was his focus. Find quarterbacks, see how we can build the team around a veteran quarterback that we're going to bring in, and let's try to be great. And now you really just want to see him shift his mindset and shift some of his philosophy now that he's got a great young quarterback, right? Now he realizes, hey, this guy is the future. We can continue to build around him. We know he's coachable, so we're going to continue to get better with him. He's going to continue to get better, and we need to continue to build around him. And maybe this is the offseason, right? Because Anthony got hurt last season, it just wasn't the time. We didn't have enough evidence that, hey, maybe this is the guy we should build around. It was still a wait and see game, right? Which is the hardest thing about this season. The wait and see year was supposed to be last year. Like where you say, where at Monsters Box says, I've been pessimistic. It's just that as a Colts fan, I'm getting impatient, and this is where I'll be honest with you. I'm getting impatient, and I'm tired of waiting, right? And last year was supposed to be what this year is. With Anthony Richardson's development season was supposed to be last year, and it's extended, and now it's another year of probably not getting to the playoffs. It's another year of being disappointed at the end of the year at what we did through the season and being unsure of the future and how things are going to go. And we get to the end of the season and we don't let Gus go quickly. Like, holy cow, we're going to go into next season and be mediocre again. And all Ballard's going to do is go through the draft and pay his own guys, and we have 41 guys that are free agents. The only guys we're going to bring in are our own, right? And it's that stuff that I don't want. I think this roster needs a massive flip. I think the free agents going, I think you need to let them go. I think that's a massive part of the future of the Anthony Richardson era, is to let all these guys that were here before Anthony Richardson, you just got to get them out. Got to weed them out. Some of these guys you bring back, right? Ashton Doolin, core special teamer, but do you have room for him? Are you going to continue to have Anthony Gould on the practice squad and somebody that or on the active roster, and you're just going to have him be inactive every single week? Like, you have the depth. Are you going to bring, and how is that going to work, right? How are you going to build the team in the future? How are you going to build it with all these guys leaving? Who are you going to bring in to replace these guys on special teams and at depth pieces? Some of these starters that are going to be leaving, I think we already have guys to replace them, to be completely honest with you. You also have guys coming back from injury next season, right? Like, you start to look at the depth chart and who we have, right? And obviously you got to go figure out the running back position next season. Sermon and Goodson both going to be out. Bringing Hull back, hey, maybe that'll be the shot. I thought coming into this year that Evan Hull would be able to slide into that running back 2 role. Maybe his 3rd season in the NFL, a full year, and then, full off season of being able to train and being able to get comfortable again on his legs and get another year in the system and learning behind Jonathan Taylor and learning in this system. Maybe Evan Hull can come out and be an incredible running back 2 next year. Maybe we find another answer at that position, right? But you do have Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor, and of course, who we have now, pretty much all these guys, or maybe all these guys are Chris Ballard draft picks, right? Pittman. I was planning on having a video this week about Pitt and how we should probably find a way to trade him, but he took a week off, and since coming back, Anthony Richardson's looked good. Pittman has looked like a wide receiver one again, which is great. So, a good reminder of who he is. We hadn't seen the Pitt we all know and love all season long for various different reasons, but recently we've seen why Pitt got paid the way he did. Just a reminder of who he is. Just want to continue to see him, want to continue to see more. Pitt, you're getting paid $23 million a year. You're number one receiver. It's got to be consistently great. But your quarterback has to consistently get you the ball. Can't be dropping passes. Wide receiver one, you can't drop passes. That's my biggest complaint with Michael Pittman Jr. this year is dropping passes. You can't have it, dude. You can't have it. Okay. But then, receiver position, we're so deep. And really, it's just fixing tight end position. But we talked about that with the Tyler Warren video. And then, even though the rookies we have, like going into the future, you expect them to be the guys of the future. Defense is built really well throughout. I think some of the rookies that we have on defense are going to be able to come in and fill roles. Some of these young guys, right? Juju Brents might come back and be a depth piece if we end up finding a way to sign Samuel Womack and bring him here for a period of time. Kenny Moore's there. Nick Cross, his development looks good. Jalen Jones is cornerback one for the future, in my opinion. Latu and his pressure rate and how he stacks among rookies. Like once he starts to really get more playing time, there's a chance he could be great. So, Dio, for as good as he's been, could easily see him end up going somewhere else because he's going to be too expensive with, how we run. But it's also going to be, there's a lot in the air. There's a lot in the air, right? New defensive coordinator. Who is he going to want to play? Is he a best 11 guy? Is he a rotation guy? We'll see what happens there. You kind of want to keep this to Chris Ballard because, again, Chris Ballard has put talent on the team. I'm not saying Chris Ballard hasn't put talent on the team. The talent is there. My whole argument is the fact that it's the perfect time to get rid of him. If you're ever going to move on from Chris Ballard, right, his time in Indy, he's put talent on the team, but it's just been disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. You have more than half the roster that's going to be flipped through free agency. Maybe you bring a guy or two back, and maybe some of these lower level guys, you bring back Grant Stewart, Ashton Doolin. Maybe you decide to pay some of these guys, but how will it all work? And for me, it just seems like the right time. I would be fine if Chris Ballard stayed. Now, that right there, that is going to go a different direction if we go into this offseason with the money we have, with the roster being flipped away. If he just starts to sign all Colts players and he doesn't go and dip, and I'm not saying bringing in free agents automatically makes us a winner, but what we have in the building clearly isn't good enough. You need to go pull guys and pay guys that are from organizations that consistently win. That's what we need. Some veteran guys on the team that are from organizations that consistently win, and we need to bring in that for the culture. We need that in our culture. So we can't just keep re-signing our own players. It can't be just all through the draft, right? We need to see Ballard change. If he doesn't change this offseason, we don't see a little bit more of an aggressive mindset from Ballard through this offseason, if he continues as our GM, then we're at a point where, we come in next year. If we're, again, mediocre next year, middle of the pack again next year, then it's like, okay, Chris Ballard, at that point, Chris Ballard has just put together a very middle of the pack team. We as Colts fans are biased and we think all these guys are better than they really are, and it needs to get blown up. And that's where I teeter-totter, right? And again, because I'm getting impatient as a Colts fan, I want us to be a consistent winner, right? You're not going to have the team. That's the team that we have. We're not going to have it forever. Quentin Nelson getting close to retirement. Braden Smith probably not going to be here soon. Ryan Kelly probably gone after this year. You think about the mainstays on this team. DeForest Buckner could be gone or retired soon. Grover Stewart. Big guys in the middle. Right? His career is not going to last forever, right? So we have so many of these guys that their time here could be coming to an end due to either free agency or retirement, it would not, because we're not winning. A guy like DeForest Buckner has to be traded at some point. We're coming up on a time where the team is going to look completely different, and for the guys that we have, because the team that I know right now, I think can win, but we're not winning. And I want this team to win. I don't know what it looks like if once we get past this point. So I'm at a point where, as a fan, I have urgency because I want this team to win, right? And we aren't far enough along in the Anthony Richardson era, right? The Bills with Brandon Beane, the Bills general manager, and what he's been able to do with Josh Allen, right? Where Josh Allen at the beginning of it, like same trajectory, not great at the beginning, goes and gets Stephon Diggs, really starts to build that team around Josh Allen because he showed signs of greatness through his developmental year, and they really start to build it around him. And then once Josh Allen gets paid, quarterback has huge money. You got to build the team around him. Now they get rid of Stephon Diggs, get rid of a lot of players, a lot of veteran players, and now this might be the best Bills team they've ever had because Brandon Beane had to shift the way he did things with his star quarterback, had to build the team in a different way. We haven't been down this road with Chris Ballard, and I don't know if he can do it. So there might be a little fear in what I talk about. As we sit here and continue to talk about this, there might be a little fear of the unknown and fear of, hey, once we go into the future, Chris Ballard has a losing record with us. Is he the guy that we want carrying us into the Anthony Richardson era? There are just so many question marks. And listen, I'm not sitting here. I'm just a fan, just like you guys, right? I just have a platform and a place for all to come here and to discuss the different ideas and discuss the different things that come up throughout Colts Nation, the different conversations that pop up, right? And so at the end of the day, right, in my fandom, I'm crazy about this team. I want us to win right now. I want us to win in the future, but it's a good thing that people like me, people like us, aren't actually, owning an NFL team and making, rash decisions because we could end up all this conversation that we've had this week about Chris Ballard, and we could come to the end of this, and he ends up actually changing his ways, and he really starts to build this team in a different way around Anthony Richardson in the offseason. We could come out next year and win 12, 13 games like we thought we might this year, and I could have egg on my face, and I would be fine with that. Again, I'm fine keeping Chris Ballard. I think that's really mostly the point of this video, like just having more of I did what should have been a longer conversation. That was an 8-minute, 35-second video, right? This one here, as I'm recording, obviously some of it's going to be trimmed out here, but right around 23 minutes, 22, 23 minutes, right? And this is what I should have done in the first place. And I just feel like with some of the comments that I saw, especially because at Monsters Box, his comment's so long, there's so much in it, so much detail. This is really the only one we had to look at because he had a lot to say. And I'm not saying I don't disagree with you. I'm not saying I don't disagree with you at all. It's just, like, especially for me, like a little bit of an open-minded person, like, and again, as a fan, like either way this goes, I'll be okay. If we go out, find a different general manager, I'm going to be nervous, but I'll be okay. If we keep Chris Ballard, I'll be nervous, but I'll be okay. So I think that's where I'm really at, is that teeter-totter that continues to go back and forth in my head. And that's why is, and going through the comments, it's very 50-50. Like I can't tell if you guys go back on that video, just look at the comments. Some people saying, yeah, it's like my guy here, I'm not gonna lie to you, I can't pronounce some of this. One of the OGs of the channel, Heinrich6633, and he said Ballard and Gus both is a joke, right? So there's some of that, and there's more to that comment, but there's comments like that. There's comments like Monsters Box where it's like, you're crazy. We should just keep them. It's not all as bad as you think it is. So I just think, this is again a 50-50 conversation on Twitter, on YouTube, everywhere I see it. People seem to be split down the middle, and I just think it's a good conversation to have during the bye week, right? It's a bye week, nothing really going on, and this really seems to be a conversation that really gets the people going when you really look at it. Colts Nation really kind of impassioned about this more than I expected. I didn't expect to get so much happening on that video, to be completely honest with you. But glad you guys came by and glad you guys checked that video out. Glad you checked this one out. If you're still here, man, deep into this video, I appreciate you stopping by, man. Appreciate you taking time. Let me know what your thoughts are on all this down in the comment section. How you feel about Gus? How would you feel about a new GM? Whatever the case may be, what do you think we should do in the future? You let me know down in the comments section. Of course, make sure you subscribe with notifications on so you continue to get notified anytime we have any more content dropping on this channel. Of course, I appreciate you stopping by for another video. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.